as NYG brings you music, news, and interviews. Start your weekend in the presence of God with worship and the word on the Cosmopolitan Weekend Show, available online at www.supremepraise.com. Supreme Praise Radio, your cosmopolitan Christian radio station.
Good evening, dear listeners. What a beautiful Sunday evening it is. It's such a blessing to come your way again with Women in Ministry. Women in Ministry. Hope you're blessed. Hope you're having a lovely day. We have a very important discussion this evening. And if you caught sight of any of our flyers, today we are looking at nutrition and we will be honing in on child obesity. And we have a blessed and a lovely man of God here and a professional in that matter to speak to us about child obesity. We have with us Pastor Prince Beidu, who is a brother and a friend, and he is a pastor and a dietitian. He's currently pursuing his PhD work at the Department of Nutrition. He holds an MPhil in dietetics from the University of Ghana and a BSc in biochemistry from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. He holds a postgraduate diploma in nutrition in changing global environment from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, Israel. He is an alumnus of the prestigious African Nutrition Leadership Program organized by the Center of Excellence, Northwestern University, South Africa. Pastor Prince works with the Ghana Health Service as the head of the dietherapy unit, Tema General Hospital. He has practiced clinical dietetics for the past 12 years. He runs regular nutrition outreach campaigns for schools, corporate organizations, and social groups. Pastor Prince serves as the nutrition resource person for several radio and television stations in Ghana, as well as other digital platforms. Pastor Prince is passionate about the nutritional health of individuals with diet-related diseases as well as the general public. His professional goal is to ensure that every food on the plate or drink in the glass of his patients is healthy. He runs therapeutic cookery seminars for hospital catering departments, corporate organizations, families, and individuals. Pastor Prince also runs the Diet and Diet Consult, which is an important vehicle for healthy nutrition advocacy, dietetic consultancy, and health food supply. Pastor Prince served as an executive member of the Ghana Dietetic Association from 2010 to 2018 in various capacities. He is currently a governing board member of the Ghana Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. He is married to my dear friend and sister, Comfort, and they are blessed with 3 lovely children. He also serves as a pastor in Glory Youth Church Assemblies of God, Glory Chapel. So, Pastor Prince, you are welcome. You're welcome to Women in Ministry. And Minister Audrey, you are welcome. Although you're silent today, we love you, we miss you, we know you're here with us.
Thank you.
Yes,
You're very welcome.
Very welcome. Yes, and thank you for accepting our invitation. Yes. So over to you, Pastor Prince. Please speak to us.
Right. Thank you so much, Favor and Audrey. Thank you so much for bringing me on this great platform. It's an awesome time to be with you, and I pray our discussion today will give us another eye opener into what we can do to help ourselves and our future. You know, it is often said that children are the future, or the young people are the future. So if you have anything happening to the young people, which is problematic, then it means that our future is going to have an issue, right? So I have put 5 the topic childhood. I'll talk about what it is, how widespread it is, the causes, and why is it a problem? And also, what practical steps can we take to prevent or manage the problem or the problem of childhood obesity? Yeah. So I would want to also send a shout out to all our cherished listeners from across the various continents and various countries. I believe that will be a blessing to ourselves by the time we are done. So, you know, until 1970, we didn't have much of a problem with obesity, and especially we didn't have much of a problem then. It came to the front burner from the 1970s, and people started putting in a lot of research in various areas to find out what the problem is and how it can be solved. Right. So the definition for obesity itself, generally, and overweight has changed over the years, because as and when researches are done, we have various insights into what the problem actually is, right? So, but generally, obesity is defined as the excessive fat accumulated. So generally, the human body stores some fat, but then it comes to a time where the amount of fat the body has stored becomes a problem, because the level of the fat accumulation could cause trouble or cause diseases, as you will see during in the course of our discussion, right? So, but there's a consensus in this general definition. However, because several pieces of research have been done, we have various experts, various people who are into obesity research, giving us diverse kinds of definitions that suit various regions of the world, and the things that we can use to diagnose someone as obese or overweight. So there are several studies. In fact, one key study was by one researcher called Williams, and with his team, they studied children between the ages of 5 to 18, and they classified children whose body mass accumulation ranges from 25% to 30%. So if for males, if a quarter of their body was fat, or females, if a third of their body was fat, then they classify them as overweight or obese. Now, so that is one way of diagnosing or categorizing people into various diagnoses. So we have body fat percentages, 25% for males, 30% for females, in terms of the people from the children to the teenage group. They can be diagnosed as overweight or obese. Now we have this Center for Disease Control, which is one of the key centers of research across the globe. In fact, their findings are utilized by many countries and many regions of the world to help in diagnosing overweight, underweight, obesity, and normal weight. So for those of our listeners who have gone to the child welfare clinics or the postnatal clinics with their children, you see that we have a booklet that we are given a book that has how your child's weight is traveling, whether your child is growing so big or it's not growing, or your child is on his or her graph, right? So that graph, when you have someone or a child falling, that is the body mass index. When we talk about body mass index, what we are saying is that the weight of your child, whether in pounds or in kilograms, divided by the height that you have squared it. So weight over height in meters squared. What you get after this calculation is what we will call the body mass index. And that index is very important in helping us diagnose how children or which quadrant a child falls. Whether if the child falls or the body mass index falls in the 95th percentile of the graph that is given us when we go for child welfare clinics or the postnatal clinics, then we say that that child is obese. That is at 75% or above. We say the child is obese. If the child is between 85% to 95%, we say the child is at risk of obesity or it's overweight. So that is the CBC. It's very, very important. That one, it is self-explanatory. In fact, when you plot the weight on the graph, you will see where your child falls. And we have it from, I think, from 2 years up to 22 years, right? We have 2 years to 18 years. We have 2 years to 22 years. So both children, young adolescents, young adults can all plot their body mass indices on the various graphs. Then we have the European researchers classifying overweight as those whose body mass index is above 85 percentile and 95 percentile as those who are obese. So we have the CBC moving in tandem with the European researchers diagnostic criteria as well. So those of us in Europe.
Can I ask a question? So yes, does that mean that someone in Africa could be classified as not obese, but when they come to Europe, they will be obese?
Okay, so this is a very important question. Usually, especially for Africa, almost all countries in Africa work with the CBC. In fact, the CBC graph they pick people from Africa, Asia, Europe, North America, South America. So it is quite representative. So the CBC graph is for all. It is when we are talking about the various criteria. Some use so let's say if you take the CBC graph, it talks about the fact that overweight rest at the 95th percentile of body mass index for age, and they're at risk for overweight between 85th to 95th percentile. So it means that when you come to Europe, Europe is 85 percentile, and is if the child is on the 85th percentile, that child is classified as overweight. But on the 95th percentile, is classified as obese. So, like the question you asked, if someone is maybe in the US, the range for overweight diagnosis is wider. If someone is in Europe or Africa, it is a narrow. So Europe and Africa will diagnose children earlier, because on 85th percentile, you are overweight.
Yeah.
95th, you are obese. Meanwhile, the US may just take it generally as between 85th to 95th, you are at risk of obesity. Meanwhile, you have been diagnosed like that in Europe or in Africa by then. So this is the difference. And you see some of the diagnostic tools depending on the section of the people, the research is happening. Sometimes it to accommodate their sizes. But actually, when you take the European limits and you take the general African limits and the WHO limits, you will see that they diagnose the children earlier.
Mm-hmm. So, Pastor Prince, what has obesity got to do with nutrition? What is the commonality between nutrition and obesity?
Thank you so much. Obesity generally is accumulation of fat, excess fat. So if your fat that the body has accumulated is so much that it now can be exposed to. Then we say, how does the fat accumulate? We have something we call energy balance. What do we eat? What we eat generates energy for the body. Then the body uses the energy. If what we are eating is giving us more energy than the body requires, or the energy expenditure of the body, it means that the excess energy that you gain from your food will accumulate in your body as fat. Now, so there's a dictum in nutrition that no one grows fat in absence of food energy. So if there is no food energy, if there's no intake of nutrients, there will not be excess energy to be saved. Right. So nutrition is key in whether one will be obese or not. And you know that I talked about energy balance as in consuming the food and utilizing the energy. So you will see that if the food goes in and you don't utilize it because of maybe your activity level is so low, you are not active, you don't do anything, you are very sedentary, then it means that the energy you have consumed through your food will stay and will make you fatty.
Okay. So,
Pastor Prince, oh, sorry.
Minister, you go on.
Pastor Prince, I just want to ask something, please. Just for clarification, I understand that obesity is based on the stores of fat, which is the carbohydrates, meaning that we've not burned enough. That's your store's energy, which sometimes turn into glucose, and you have the starch, which stores up, and if they are not used energy-wise, it becomes fat. And these are accumulated through what we eat and drink. I want to ask, how about medical-wise? Sorry about the breakage in there. My apologies. I want to ask, how about individuals who have very good nutrition? They eat very well, they exercise very well, but on a medical grounds, there are issues like taking medication like steroids, or individuals who were born with diabetics and things like that. How did they go about controlling the path of obesity, not becoming obese?
Okay. Yeah, so I brought a lot of angles to the discussion. Yeah, so the causes of obesity are myriad. We have a lot of so if you are on medication and the medication is, let's say, reducing your metabolic rate. When we eat and the body burns the food to release, the body is supposed to utilize it. There are some medications when you take, your metabolic rate may reduce. So the food you eat will not burn as much as when you are not taking the medication. So when somebody is obese, it is very important that the person quickly sees their physician, their dietitian, so that the problem can be properly assessed. So when we assess and we realize that, okay, yeah, the person is on steroids and that has reduced the metabolic rate, and because of that, the body is accumulating a lot of fat, there is a way out. So in the hospital setting, that is what we do. When somebody is obese already, what is the cause? We find it out. What can be the interventions? So there are several interventions for obesity that is arising from causes of medical issues, right? So normally, you would have to be properly assessed by your physician, assessed by your dietitian, assessed by your medical team, so that appropriate interventions could be given. That is number one. Also, we have people, one aspect of obesity, you talked about people who were born and they were huge. We have an aspect of obesity that is contributed to by our genes. But the good aspect is that, you see, the gene for obesity does not express independently of the environment. So whatever your gene is demanding or commanding, whether your gene is making you burn less energy or making you, there are ways of giving you apparently huge amount of food but will have small amount of energy. So we have to really assess to know what is the underlying factor for your fat accumulation. But the good news is that it is only about 5% of the obese people, especially children who are obese, only about 5% of them that we can relate directly to their genes. It means that majority of children who are obese, they are obese because of other factors. So yes, when we realize that there's a gene impact there, there's a way we will help that person. When the person is not obese from the outset, there are preventive ways to help the person to stay healthy in terms of their weight. So if there's obesity present, the person must quickly see their medics, see their dietitians, so that they can be helped. If the obesity is not present, but we see the risk factor ahead of us, then we can help the person and prevent him from becoming overweight or obese.
Thank you very much. Just another quick one. I just wanna, okay, I'll do it quickly before the jingle. So you said that if you realize that there's a genetic factor, so let's put it together, genetic and hormonal factors also contribute to obesity. Does that mean that it has to start at a certain age? Because, example, babies that are born of diabetic moms tend to be bigger babies due to excess insulin. So at what age would you start to treat an individual with such history?
Okay, yeah. So with the case in point you raised, you realize that a diabetic on insulin who is present in the blood that the baby can have, you may end up giving birth to a big baby, and that is a risk factor. Yeah. So that's right from that time, the pediatrician, the dietitian, and the endocrinologist will work together to help that child, that baby. Now, as the baby grows, the baby goes into childhood and start developing the eating pattern, because you see, even if the baby is fat from babyhood, growing up, there are a lot of things that happens in the environment that will affect the baby, whether the baby will maintain the fatness or will reduce.
Yeah, those are environmental issues, which sometimes there's not much you can do about it.
And yes, but then when the baby is growing and the situation is well understood by the medical team, then the three are crucial: the physician or the pediatrician, the endocrinologist, and the dietitian. They can help the baby or the child or the adolescent not to get to that the fat accumulation will be very, very detrimental, and that will be our goal. Okay, so we may not be able to bring the person down to the healthy weight, but we can maintain the person's health and prevent excessive accumulation that will bring the complications obesity will bring to people who have accumulated excess. So head or tail, that blood will still manage a professional health, so that we can mitigate what may happen if there is so much in the body.
So I guess that's where nutrition comes in, Pastor Prince, because I mean, if a person has a risk factor, the environmental factors are much more controllable than any genetic factor, right? So that's
exactly.
where we have to be eating well and managing what we take into the body.
I manage a lot of obese children and obese, and you have a child whose weight is his 22nd year weight, right? So that you have a child at 9 years whose weight is what he should have been at 22 years. And you realize that this child is also growing. So you cannot put the child, that is how come the childhood obesity is a crucial and a very big problem. Because when you are managing it, one, you cannot stop the growth of the child. And you also don't want the child to accumulate more fat. So you feed with very healthy nutrients, whilst looking at the child maintaining his normal growth, but preventing accumulation of fat. So it is a very, very painstaking activity to take care of an obese child or an obese adolescent. But like you said, once we are able to speak to the parents to change their food environment at home, they speak to the child. If the child is someone who can perceive, the perception is right and can understand what we discuss, the child will know that when more fat accumulates, there will be problems. Then we show videos for them to understand it. It helps with the management. Our goal for childhood obesity is that once we don't want the child to become an adult who is obese to have the complications, because children and they hit their 40s and there could be issues, right? So the food aspect is very important. And the dietitian that is to work with the child, the adolescent, their parents, their home, they should be able to get a very right eating pattern for them that can help them prevent excessive fat accumulation.
Thank you, Pastor Prince. Let's hold on here whilst we acknowledge our listeners from Houston, Texas, Kingston, Jamaica, and Beauharnois, Quebec, Canada. Thank you for tuning in. You're live on Supreme Praise Radio. We are also live on Faith Channel Radio and Channel of Mercy. We are streaming live on YouTube, Supreme Praise Radio, and Facebook as well. We're also streaming live on the Wisdom for Victory Facebook page on Facebook. So please connect with us. And you can also text us or send us a WhatsApp calling on 0044 7308 980156. Please text your questions in and send your suggestions through on whatever platform you're listening to. We are looking at nutrition and we're focusing on child obesity this evening. And our guest speaker is Pastor Prince Baidu, who is a dietitian. Pastor Prince, my question is, children are encouraged to eat. How can we encourage children to eat foods that will prevent fat accumulation? Because I've noticed that we bang on vegetables with the children, but I don't think we as adults eat as much vegetables as we want our children to, and then we get trapped in them eating whatever we are eating. And how can we stop that? Because I as a parent know that if it carries on, it will affect the health of our children. I mean, we are where we are because we had good diets when we were growing up. But if our children don't eat as well now, obviously we'll have child obesity soaring in the future. So how can we encourage our children to eat well? What are some of the ways we can change their diets and still have that taste and flavor that they want?
You know, the perception of food, in fact, what has been the key impediment to the drive against childhood obesity is about how children and adolescents perceive food. So, in fact, for those of us who are advocates for healthy child meals or childhood eating, we are pushing for, you know, the changing the perception of children about food goes or moves beyond the family, because they should be targeted at the children to let them understand that there are fundamental reasons why we eat. The reason, the key fundamental reasons why we eat are that we are growing and we need to grow healthily. That is number one. Number two is that our brains need very healthy nutrients to be able to function better so that we can grow into responsible adults. Number two. Number three, we are eating so that we will be able to develop very healthy reproductive systems as we grow. Very, very important. And we are also eating so that we can have energy to be able to work. Now, aside from this, we have the societal view of what food is. Eating for pleasure, eating for status, eating for fun, eating the minds of our children, and that they have moved beyond, oh, this one will help you. It will keep you healthy. No, this one will show people that my father is wealthy, my mother is wealthy. We are in a particular class in life. And these are the ones that are hitting these young people so much. And in the consulting room sometimes, when you engage them, they understand you on one leg, and on the other leg, they'll say, my friends will laugh at me. My colleagues will say that we don't have food at home. There are several things. So you talked about how can we shift the thinking pattern of our children in terms of what they should eat. First of all, as a family, the family must decide on how their eating pattern would be like. So what we cannot say children should eat in a particular way when parents are eating in another way. But children will eat what their parents are eating. It's all, there are several research have shown that. So we encourage people to stock the fridge with a healthy meal. Stock your kitchen with a healthy meal. So when you are bringing vegetables, you are bringing them to your kitchen. Bringing them to they are stocking the fridge with them. Your groceries, you are buying healthy meals, buying lots of fruit, right? Maybe you decide that for the family at the end of every month, every 2 weeks, that's when we'll go out to have fun, whatever you want to pick on, any pastry you can pick on once every fortnight. No, for children, we cannot say you are taking it wholesale out of their meal plan. They will get to a place where they will be fed up. So it starts from home, and now it comes to the metropolitan level, it comes to the district level, it comes to the country level. Policy at school, policy in our metropolitan area, policy in the country. If there are no policies, everybody does what they want. Everybody cooks what they want. And you see, one factor that drives what people eat is taste and flavor. So once the thing is tasty, once the food has nice flavor, whether it will kill the body or it will make the body stay, we will not think about it. So that is what we can do at the family level, at the district level, at the country level, policy. So parents, we must come together and advocate for policies that will enhance healthy feeding at schools, healthy meals at children parks and all those areas, so that children, whatever they decide to lay their hands on to pick, will be something that will be helpful for their body.
So Pastor Prince, you're saying that, well, the family needs to play a part, but the community, the whole community needs to play a part as well. So we can eat better and feed our children better. Feed our children for health, not just for taste.
For health. That's very true. And you know, Eva, you see one thing that we are working so hard as a community, as countries, as regional bodies to come up with innovations, come out with inventions that will help us to do things more efficiently. And by doing so, the body is not efficiently utilizing the energy in us because we are using more gadgets than our physique. Now, when that is happening, the converse of it is that we are rather eating now even more than what we used to eat. So the cup of muffin in 1970 is now bigger in 2021. The size has increased. So we are not rather eating more and more and more whilst we are growing more efficient. And that is the problem. And you see, if we don't solve it, we are going to have our children who are the future becoming the sick future. Because obesity has been linked to, childhood obesity has been linked to type 2 diabetes, it has been linked to heart diseases, heart attacks, it has been linked to kidney diseases, and has been linked to low output at work. So if we don't see it as a serious problem that the entire community, the entire country must sit and come up with policies to deal with, we can do only so much at the family level. You do it, they go to school, they spend all their time out, they will come, you give them food, they will bring it back home that they will do it because it was not nice. They would want to buy from cafeteria, they want to buy the various aspects of food. So it must be a communal thing, and we must be determined to reduce this or stem this tide because it is growing. In fact, one researcher put it this way, that childhood obesity, which used to be epidemic in various spotted countries across the world, is now almost like a pandemic because every country, even the very low income countries, are having children who are obese.
And if we don't do something about it, the future generation may be a sick generation.
Yes, and can you imagine that the body mass index I talked about, there is about 25% to 40% of obese parents whose children will be obese. So it is linked because the obese parents did not become obese from the vacuum. The eating practices is what will inform. In fact, how your fetus will grow in the womb is linked to how the mother is eating. So you know, like Audrey talked about diabetics and how their children come out. So many of these the development, how did the mother is eating high fat food, sausages, bakings, and when you are eating it, it's actually being imprinted on the perception, feeding perception of the child even before birth. So the child grows and is just following it. And it has been found that 25% to 40% of obese people have their children becoming obese. And this is very, very, very crucial. So it means that parents who want to see their children in a healthy weight range must look at themselves as well. Very, very crucial.
Pastor Prince, could it just be that a lot of us are trying to give excuses why we overeat? Have you come across anything like that in your practice?
Yeah. In fact, with the question, the discussion in question, like the childhood obesity, you would have children who will tell you the reason why they cannot follow a healthy diet. You know, for the kind of school I attend, the kind of prescriptions you are giving, they don't even serve it there. They don't serve these healthy foods there. So they will tell you that, and my parents cannot cook for me. I can't send my morning and afternoon meals to school. So I don't have a choice than to eat what is there. So there are elite schools that can, when a dietitian sends a prescription to them, they can actually feed this child in a different, but the child will run a consolation in the fact that everybody is eating that and we must eat. Some people also say that when I'm stressed, I eat. So when the parent is stressed and is overeating, the child is sitting by him or her and is also eating with them.
They join in.
Exactly, they join in. So yes, as for excuses, we hear it all the time. They say it in the consulting room when we go for outreaches. They say it after we are giving the thoughts, the question and answer time. They will give the reason why. They will tell you, is there not a shortcut, a short way of us removing the fat from the body other than deciding on eating a certain type of food? So people are really pushing to reduce their fat accumulation if there is another way, but they don't want to go through the healthy eating route. Many people said, yes, I know vegetables are good, I do that, I like this. Fortunately or unfortunately, there is no shortcut to healthy eating and healthy living. There are ways that the foods we know, the vegetables we know in our various regions, Africa, Europe, we have various healthy vegetables that can be used for various recipes that are nice. Fortunately for us, we have a lot of good recipes online. If you want an African recipe, you get. If you want a Western recipe, if you want Mediterranean recipe, they are all available. We have a lot of dietitians online who can help. And I'm encouraging families to visit the dietitians with their families so that they have a conversation about how they can situate their eating context in a healthy way. All these are possible, that when we do, it will help our children to eat well and prevent us from taking too much energies.
Thank you, Pastor Prince. Thank you so much. I hope you're being blessed out there, listeners. This is very important that we prepare our children for the future, and by doing that, we need to be role models. We need to be conscious of what we are eating, of our nutrition, so that we can feed our children to be the future leaders that they are. Pastor Prince, I've got someone texting, and the question is obesity hereditary? I think you've answered that earlier on, but anyway, I'll leave it to you. And does sugar play any role in contributing to obesity?
Yes, I said that obese parents are likely to give birth. 25 to 40% of obese parents have been found to be likely to give birth to obese children. Or we will have 25 to 40% of obese children are likely to have their parents being obese. So that is true. Research has established that. Now, sugar is one of the key drivers of obesity, especially sugar that is consumed in soft drinks or fizzy drinks. Yes, so sugar coming in soft drinks or fizzy drinks, or coming in pastries, or direct addition to our foods, have been found to increase the weight of individuals, or especially children. Children and adolescent obesity has been linked to high whatever drinks they take.
So this culture of giving children juice and sweet drinks every time needs to really stop.
Yes, it's as I spoke to you earlier concerning the contribution of the environment, the society, right? So we want, if I have a melon, I have to cut it. If I have bananas, and I have to make it in such a way that it will appeal to the child. It is taking my time. So let me just grab a juice. Let me just grab. So that's what I said earlier, that we are rushing to be efficient, but reducing our the use of physique and energy, but we are not looking at reducing what we eat. We are rather increasing what we eat. So yes, healthy fruits, fresh fruits must be taken any day above juiced fruit. So fresh fruit smoothies, they must be taken above juice fruit, because most juice fruits do not have their fibers with them. And you can drink a lot before you get satisfied. And the more you drink, the more energy you consume. The more energy you consume, and now that our children are also less active in this time of pandemic, everybody is hidden in their little corner. We are seeing that more energy accumulation, and that will lead to overweight and obesity.
Okay, so we need to cut down on our sugars.
We need to cut down our sugars. You know, one thing I would want to tell the listeners is that every carbohydrate food you eat will turn to sugar. But the sugars are locked in the fibers of those carbohydrates. Whether you are taking rice, you are taking potatoes, you are taking yam, you are taking any of the carbohydrate-rich food. The sugars are not just there in the food. They are locked. So the body would have to digest it before it will absorb it, before it will work on it. Unlike the raw sugars in fizzy drink, in pastries, they are raw. You just pick it, they rush into the blood. It makes your insulin rise up and down. And insulin spikes in the body has been linked to heart disease in the future. So not only are we concerned about obesity with sugar, it has other dire consequences if we continue in large quantities over time.
Thank you, Pastor Prince. Of late, there's been a big push on certain types of foods, you know, superfoods, berries, strawberries, and stuff like that. I just want to get your opinion on this. Will you encourage people to go for these superfoods? Because now they've become expensive. If you go to the supermarket, I mean, some of these foods have a big label on it, superfood, good for your brain, and stuff like that. And because of that, the supermarkets have put a bit of a price tag on it. Or would you advocate for just going for raw food, any raw food that you can cook yourself? So what's your thought on that?
Yeah, so I can very much identify.
Is there anything at all like a superfood at all?
Yeah, okay, now, so let me take it this way. There is this renowned retired Supreme Court judge in Ghana who is quoted as saying that you cannot put something on nothing. Right. So now, if there is a superfood and the basis of your nutrition is wrong or poor, you will have no benefit from that food. So every other addition you are putting on is premised on a healthy meal platform. So you must have been eating well to have the superfood performing super things for you. Right. So many of these superfoods, you look at them and they are rich in antioxidants. They are very rich in vitamin C. Some of them are very rich in methionine. We have a lot of them with key antioxidants that are very, very important to the body. Glutathione. Now, so if you have food that are rich in them and you label them superfood, because when you pick them, they give you short or very healthy nutrients. Fine. What will you think this food can do for you when you are on a very unhealthy diet? High fat, high saturated fat. You are on very high fatty meat diet, very small carbohydrate or no carbohydrate, very small vegetables, no vegetable food. When you are on this diet and you go, it will not help you. So yes, if you have what it takes to buy superfood so labeled, I wouldn't, because in fact, there's super because they have very, very important nutrients in them. That's how come they do like that for marketing purposes. But actually, the superfood will do nothing for you if your basics of eating is wrong. Healthy eating, more vegetable, more fruit, moderate carbohydrates, moderate proteins, sparing amount usage of oil, and taking of legumes. If this is not the base of your eating, then nothing can help you. So that is what I would say. So the labeled superfoods, if you have the opportunity to get them, it must be in the context of a healthy meal plan. Otherwise, we waste our monies and they will not do what they are purported to do.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well explained. So we might as well be getting a whole meal than just focusing on blueberries, raspberries and all that.
Yeah. In fact, most of them, they are touted because of the presence of antioxidants in them, right? But those in the African context, eating context, like when you take ginger, you take your onions and garlic. They have almost about all some of these things we have in the other fruits we talk about. In fact, ginger is an African superfood, we say, and it's all across. It has your antioxidant vitamin E. It has a lot of fiber, and it has a lot of other things that helps us. So really, we have various versions of all types of foods found in various regions of the world. Depending upon where you are, you can have access to a type of food that you can use that will be helpful for you and your family, not necessarily going to the ones that have been projected across the globe as good foods. Yes, they may be good in the regions where they are found, but it doesn't mean that where you are, you wouldn't have an indigenous food that will be helpful for you.
Same role. Well, Pastor Prince, what are you going to say to the general public then with regards to choosing what to eat?
Yeah. So how we eat must be informed by the fundamental reasons why we do it. Okay. So the fundamental reasons why we eat are that, one, if the person is a child or adolescent, is still growing, up until about 22, 23 years, growth is continuous. The person must know why he's putting whatever he's putting in the mouth. And as my professional, my passion always has been that whatever everybody puts in a glass or a cup or a plate or a bowl to eat, the person must be conscious of the fact that this thing is going to either give me health, and that should be the mindset everybody must have. I put it in this way. Like I use about 4 P's to or 4 M's to talk to people about how they should choose their meals. Okay, so the first M is that most of whatever you choose in a day, most of whatever you choose to eat in a day must be from the fruit and vegetable sources. More of whatever you choose in a day must come from your complex starches. Complex starches, that is the carbohydrate that has not been refined, that have their chaff in them. So like your oats, your wheat, your potatoes, your yams, your plantains, they are crucial. Also, moderate of what you eat must come from the protein groups. Your dairy, then moderate, meager of what you are taking must be from your fats and oils. So whenever you realize that you are eating in a day and your food is soggy throughout the day, morning till evening, you are fed on fat. You realize that you have not eaten your platform or the foundation of your meals are not it's not a solid, healthy eating foundation. Your meals, your choices, wherever you find yourself, and you have a choice to make, and there are vegetable fruits, they're very cool. Then you can come to your complex starches. You can come to your protein. That's your chicken, your turkey, your fish, your egg, then your peanuts and all those ones can use. Then before you think about your fat and oil, it shouldn't be the other way around. Very, very important.
Pastor Prince, I've got a child who does not like meat or fish. What do I do?
Yeah. Okay, so does the child like egg?
Yes.
Egg.
So
does the child like the legumes, beans?
Okay.
Beans,
okay.
Yeah. So we have those are very good sources of proteins. So yeah, if the child likes it, then the parents would have to spend time to find out what recipes can they use groundnut, can they use beans, can they use egg for the child, right? Yeah, so those are very crucial or very good sources of protein. If the child likes mushrooms, you can incorporate mushrooms. There are several aspects that you can add to the child's food to eat. So yes, fish and meat. If the child doesn't like it, you can have other alternatives for the child. If it is that crucial and that when you even introduce the child to these to pick, then you may have to see your dietitian with the child so that you have other customized diets for the child within your environmental context.
And that's, I think you've hammered very much on the environmental context. Food within your environment in that right. That gives the right nutrients. Okay,
that's
food right. Within your environment that will give you exactly the same nutrients you need. I've got a question coming. Someone says that how can they help their child who is obese as a parent? And do they put the child on a diet to reduce the amount of food intake? I think you've answered this, but I'll leave it to you.
Yeah. You see, it is very, very dicey managing an obese. If you don't take care, your child will be big but will be malnourished. Right. So what we do, that is what we have been trained to do as dietitians. I will encourage the person to see the dietitian close by for proper assessment. The goal will be to keep a healthy growth and to prevent excessive fat accumulation. And that will be better done by the dietitian. Yeah, so you should see a dietitian. They shouldn't put the child on a diet by themselves. No, that one can cause trouble. We always say that it's better to be heavy than to be slim and sick. Right? So there's a way to help obese children to win over it with time, because we have a long childhood obesity is a long term. If you saw an obese child who has been placed on a diet and has reduced drastically, that child go and assess, you realize that he's sick or she's sick.
Listeners, this has been awesome, eye-opening. Pastor Prince, thank you so much. So we've been looking today at nutrition and specifically child obesity. And Pastor Prince has said that A good check would be to think most of whatever I eat in a day must be fruits and veg. More of whatever I eat in a day must be complex starches, fibers. Moderate of whatever I eat in a day must be protein. And meager of whatever I eat in a day must be fats and oils. And if we can do this, we could set ourselves up onto a healthy pathway for ourselves and our children. We need to make sure the future generation is a healthy generation. And we're leaving our children in a position where they will be strong for the future. I'm just quickly going to check if we have any more questions, and then if not, then we will bring the program to a close. Thank you so much for listening. I can't thank you enough to everyone who has tuned in on Facebook, on YouTube, on the radio channel of Mercy, Faith Channel Radio, and can't thank you enough. I know there'll be people listening from Glory Youth Church. Thank you too for tuning in. We really, really appreciate you. Pastor Prince, we don't have any more questions, so can you give us your final words, please?
Yes, thank you so much. This discussion is very crucial and important for those of us who are nutrition advocates, because if we don't tackle the issue of childhood obesity well, we are going to get a very future. We have found that overweight and obese children are known to have a lot of psychological health issues. Overweight and obese children are likely to stay obese in adulthood as well. And they are more likely to develop non-communicable diseases like diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, heart diseases, at even a younger age. Now we are having a lot of young children having type 2 diabetes. Normally we used to call it adult onset. This one, we are having children who are growing so huge that their diabetes is happening to them in their childhood age. Childhood obesity can affect the child's health, social and emotional well-being as well. And many researchers are telling us that the self-esteem of obese and overweight children are badly affected. And we have also seen that overweight and obesity affects the academic performance of children, and it affects the quality of life of children as well. So many of the conditions that affect people in the old age, orthopedic, some of them will have backache, waist problems, they will have knee problems, ankle problems, they will have to find orthopedic wards for a lot of surgical procedures to be done. So all those ones have been linked to obesity, and some are having fatty liver. As young as 14, 15-year-olds are having a lot of fat accumulating in their liver, and it's causing a lot of trouble. And some are having lung issues, breathing issues, and kidney problems. And all these are associated with childhood obesity. And because of that, every parent, every legislator, every nutritional advocate, we must come together and push for policies and for changes that will help our children to stick to healthy eating patterns, and also places of eating. All our eateries around, we should put child-sensitive feeding there, so that children who get there our future is bleak.
Thank you so much. We've got a comment from Richard Quagrin. He says, great and relevant information for healthy living. Thanks, Osofo Prince. Yes, great and really, really relevant information. Thank you so much, Pastor Prince, for honoring this invitation. It's been really insightful. As a generation, we need to rethink how we eat. Eating for pleasure, eating for status, We need to rethink how we eat if we want a better future for our children and a better future for ourselves as well. We need to rethink how we eat. And I pray that this broadcast will help you reflect as a family, as a person, on how you eat and why you eat. If you know why you eat, perhaps it will help you to restructure what you eat. So the why, and then everything else will fall in place. Till we come your way again, sometime in August, this broadcast will be repeated next week, same time. So if you missed it, please tune in again on Supreme Praise Radio, and there will be a repeat broadcast. Have a very lovely month. Happy new month. God bless you. Stay safe, and bye-bye.
Supreme Praise Radio, your cosmopolitan Christian radio station. Supreme Praise Radio, your cosmopolitan Christian radio station. Cosmopolitan Weekend Show. Tune